Welcome to the deep dive. We got a request from you to look into a really complex set of sources about a truly shocking crime in Davis, California, the intense psychology behind it, and also the legal battles that followed. These really changed things in California.
Yeah, it's a heavy one. Our mission today is to sort of cut through that complexity. We want to give you a clear understanding of this case and why it's still so central to the whole debate around juvenile justice reform.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the April 2013 double murder of Oliver Chip Northup Jr., who was 87, and Claudia Maupin, age 76. They were killed in their home in Davis.
And the crime itself was brutal, incredibly violent. But the really shocking part, the part that kind of changes everything, is the perpetrator. Daniel Marsh. He was only 15 years old at the time.
15. And he later confessed, not just to the murders, but to torture, mutilation. It's horrific detail.
Absolutely. And that's the core tension here, isn't it? You've got these two major components we need to unpack. First, the extreme psychological aspect. Marsh's stated motive was the thrill, the desire to be a serial killer. Just chilling.
And second,
the huge legal and policy debate that exploded afterward, specifically about sentencing kids, juvenile offenders, in California. This case landed right in the middle of massive reforms.
the violence itself is just staggering. You mentioned the number of wounds Mr. Northup had, 61 stab wounds, Mrs. Maupin 67, that level of overkill.
And the planning. That's the other key thing. We'll get into the details, but this wasn't impulsive. It was calculated, meticulous, which contrasts so sharply with him being just 15.
So it immediately raises questions about how the law should handle someone like that. Is he a child who needs rehabilitation, or is something else going on?
Precisely. It forced everyone, courts, lawmakers, the public, to grapple with what juvenile really means when the crime displays that kind of, sophisticated depravity. This deep dive is fundamentally about that collision course. Policy aimed at reformation meeting an act of premeditated evil.
Yeah, unnecessary tension, as you said. The legal sources make it pretty clear this case became a test, didn't it? A really terrible test for the limits of rehabilitating young offenders.
Exactly. Let's start, though, by focusing on the victims.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get into the darkness, we need to understand who Chip Northup and Claudia Maupin were. Part one is about them, about their lives and their context.
It's crucial, because their absence was felt so deeply. Right away, Oliver Chip Northup Jr., born 1925, he was a prominent figure in the community, but maybe quietly prominent, a World War II Navy veteran.
Right, served his country, then built this really impressive legal career, graduated from UCLA, then Bolt Hall, UC Berkeley Law, that's top tier.
And his commitment wasn't just, practicing law, it was civic duty. He was elected to the Woodland School Board, served as city attorney for multiple towns, Woodland, Winters, Yolo.
That's extensive service.
It really is. And leadership roles, too. President of the Woodland Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club. You look at his life, and it's just decades of building community, being involved. It defined him.
And he had a personal side, too, the sources mentioned. He was a musician.
Yeah, played in a local folk band, the Buda Creek Crawdads. And he was a founding member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Davis. He wasn't just living there. He was part of the foundation.
And his wife, Claudia Maupin, born in 36, she shared that community spirit.
Very much so. She was a pastoral associate at the same church, the Davis Unitarian Church, involved in helping people and also active in local theater, a life connected to others.
And their relationship actually began at that church, right? They married later in life in 1996.
Yes, a blended family. And the scale of that family tells you something about the loss. Together, they had 11 children, 14 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren.
Wow. That's a huge network of people affected.
Absolutely. When they were killed, the shock just radiated outwards, through the family, through Davis, through all the communities they touched.
And it was their routines, their connections that led to the discovery, wasn't it?
That's right. Chip missed a gig with his band. Both were absent from church on Sunday morning, April 14th. They were so reliable that people noticed immediately something was wrong.
So family members couldn't reach them.
No. The first check of the house didn't reveal anything obvious. But later that evening, Maupin's daughter Laura, along with the police, they noticed something through a window. Bloodstains. And the screen, it had been neatly sliced open.
Chilling. The fact that their community involvement is what flagged the problem just underscores how integral they were.
Exactly. They were killed by someone who literally lived just 2 doors down from Chip's house. Someone who slipped in and shattered these lives built on peace and service.
Okay, now we have to turn to the perpetrator, Daniel Marsh. Let's unpack his history. This part is so critical for the legal arguments later because it's just full of these jarring contradictions, warning signs, and interventions that just didn't work.
Yeah, the timeline is crucial. And that initial phase of his life it's a really stark contrast.
Hmm.
Daniel William Marsh, born May 1997. In 2008, when he was 10, he did something heroic.
The Red Cross Award.
Exactly. An American Red Cross Heroes Award. He used CPR, saved his father's life during a heart attack. That's the image, right? A capable, maybe even empathetic kid.
But the sources say the shift happened almost right after that, tied to his parents' divorce.
Yes. Also in 2008, the divorce was apparently very contentious. His mother had an affair with his former kindergarten teacher, and Marsh perceived this as a profound betrayal.
And that triggered something.
According to Marsh and the psychological reports, yes, it triggered the first serious homicidal fantasies. At age 10, he became obsessed with the woman involved in the affair. He started plotting, fantasizing about killing her, slitting her throat, strangling her.
At age 10.
At age 10. The dreams about killing started then. By 11, he was telling a therapist about fantasies of torture and this really strong urge to act on them. The initial diagnosis was adjustment disorder with depressed mood.
Which sounds almost mild compared to the thoughts he was describing.
Well, yes. And sadly, that early intervention didn't halt the progression. From 2010 to 2013, his teenage years, things really escalated. Substance abuse started, alcohol, marijuana.
And that caused problems at home.
Big problems. His father kicked him out when he was 14. He was bouncing between his parents' houses. Just instability on top of the internal turmoil.
And the mental health issues got worse.
Significantly. In October 2011, he developed severe anorexia. His weight dropped to 93 pounds. He was hospitalized for nearly a month.
And during that hospitalization, they noticed other things.
Yes, these intense feelings of derealization, out-of-body experiences, happening multiple times a week, feeling disconnected from reality, from himself. It paints a picture of someone really struggling internally.
But they tried medication.
Lots of medication. The sources list a whole cycle of them. Prozac, Celexa, Lexapro, Abilify, Zoloft, Seroquel, Wellbutrin, just rotating through these powerful drugs.
And this medication cycle became a key part of the defense later, right? The idea that side effects contributed.
Absolutely. Yeah. The defense argued this cocktail, the combinations, the side effects, led to a loss of impulse control, essentially contributing to a state of temporary insanity. That was their core argument.
But even with the medication, the warning signs kept coming and getting louder.
Definitely louder. Mid-December 2012, he's 15. He tells the school counselor about his homicidal fantasies. This time, it's serious enough that police are involved. He's involuntarily hospitalized, a 5150 hold.
So a formal recognition he was a danger.
Yes, but he was released. And the thoughts didn't stop. Early 2013, he tells a school psychologist about wanting to hurt specific peers at school.
And his confidence in doing it.
That was the chilling part. When asked if he could act on these thoughts, he reportedly said, "I have full confidence that I could hurt these people."
Was anything done then?
A police officer was informed again, but the sources suggest no formal action was taken. Maybe because there wasn't an imminent threat named against a specific person, it's unclear. But shortly after, he gave even more graphic details to a counselor.
Like what?
Fantasies of torture, peeling skin off hands, cutting off eyelids. And crucially, he said these thoughts only scratched the surface. He admitted he'd basically given up trying to resist the urges.
That feels like a turning point, giving up the internal fight.
It does. A shift towards accepting, maybe even embracing, the violent ideation. His entire focus became violence.
And it wasn't just internal thoughts anymore, right? He was thinking about specific scenarios.
Yes. Fantasies of a schoolyard massacre. And this explicit desire, he stated it clearly, to become a serial killer, like the ones he studied.
He studied infamous killers.
Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. He researched them. And he started consuming incredibly graphic content online. Gore porn, as the sources call it, on sites like bestgore.com, real videos of violence and death. He was immersing himself in it.
And was he keeping this all to himself?
Not at all. That's another disturbing layer. He bragged about it. Told friends, told his girlfriend about wanting to torture and kill random people. He even had a written plan to kill his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. He wasn't hiding it. He was almost seeking an audience for these dark thoughts.
And the violence extended beyond fantasy, animal cruelty.
Yes, classic warning signs, setting fires, cruelty to animals. A friend recalled him strangling a cat just because he hated that cat, kicking a dog, killing a raccoon. He even asked a friend if he could kill their dog.
It's just this relentless pattern of escalation. Failed treatments, ignored warnings, leading
Hmm.
right up to the murders.
And even after the murders, in May 2013, he got expelled for bringing a knife to school. The danger didn't just vanish after this crime.
Let's talk about the psychological findings from the trial. The psychopathy checklist score is just stunning.
It really is. The PCLR, the Psychopathy Checklist Revised, expert Matthew Logan administered it. It measures psychopathic traits, 20 items, scored 0 to 2, for a total out of 40.
And the threshold for psychopathy is usually around 30 in the U.S.
Generally, yes. Maybe slightly lower in some contexts, but 30 is a common clinical benchmark. An average person, non-criminal, might score a 5 or 6.
Daniel Marsh scored 35.8.
35.8 out of 40. Dr. Logan himself said it was one of the highest scores he'd ever encountered. It indicates a profound lack of empathy, manipulativeness, grandiosity, poor behavioral controls, essentially the full picture of severe psychopathy.
So when the prosecution presented that score,
It basically blew the defense argument out of the water. It countered the idea that this was temporary, medication-induced insanity. Instead, it pointed to a deep-seated, potentially permanent personality structure, a calculating mind, not just a troubled kid who lost control.
yeah, it frames the crime completely differently. It makes you ask, if this is who he is at 17, can the system truly reform that?
That became the central question, legally and philosophically. Was this driven by treatable illness or by inherent character? The score heavily suggested the latter.
Which brings us directly to the night of the murders and the planning you mentioned earlier. That calculation really undermines the insanity defense.
Absolutely. The level of premeditation is remarkable in a horrifying way. Marsh decided on April 13th, 2013, that he was done fighting the urges. He was going to act.
And he prepared meticulously.
Incredibly so. All black clothes, black face mask, gloves, no fingerprints. And this detail is key. He taped the bottom of his shoes to avoid leaving footprints. That's not someone in a psychotic break. That's someone thinking like a forensic counter-investigator.
Armed with his 6-inch buck knife.
Yes, and then he went hunting, his word.
Yeah.
Roaming the streets between 2 and 3 a.m., checking house after house, 40 to 50 homes according to his confession, looking for an easy way in, an unlocked door, an open window.
Until he found the Northup Maupin condo, just 2 doors down from his father's place.
The proximity is disturbing. He found a window, sliced the screen, climbed inside, successfully bypassed their security without force.
And once inside, she didn't attack immediately.
No, that's another chilling detail. He waited, listened for snoring to confirm they were asleep. Then he went to their bedroom and just stood there, watching them sleep, for about 10 minutes.
How did he describe feeling then?
Not scared? He said he felt nervous but excited and exhilarated. He was anticipating it, savoring it.
And the attack started when Claudia Maupin woke up.
Yes, she screamed. And Marsh later said her screams, her pleas didn't make him stop. They actually motivated him to be more aggressive. He even made the comment, the old lady just would not die. It's just callous.
He attacked Mr. Northup, too, when he tried to intervene.
Yes, stabbed him repeatedly. But the violence didn't stop when they were dead. He admitted continuing to stab them because it just felt right. The overkill was immense, remember, over 128 stab wounds in total between them.
And then it went beyond killing, mutilation.
Yes. He described it as being driven by curiosity. He dissected, eviscerated them. First responders found organs removed. He admitted pulling fat from Mr. Maupin's body, cutting into Mr. Northup's forehead just to see. This wasn't just murder. It was exploration of destruction.
This clearly supported the torture charges.
Absolutely. And then there was the trolling element, as the sources call it, placing objects inside the bodies.
A cell phone in Miss Maupin, a drinking glass in Mr. Northup.
Right. And his reason. He told investigators he did it to fuck with them, to mess with the people who would find the bodies and investigate.
That speaks volumes about his mindset, complete detachment, even a kind of game playing with the authorities.
It's pure psychopathy on display. Zero empathy for the victims, combined with this calculated desire to manipulate the living. And his description of the feeling he got from the murders.
Pure happiness.
Yes, pure happiness. An adrenaline and dopamine rush. He called it the most exhilarating, enjoyable feeling I've ever felt. Better than sex, he said. And it was heightened when they resisted, when they were conscious. That positive feeling, he claimed, lasted for weeks.
And he kept souvenirs.
The knife, the bloody clothes, gloves, stashed them in his mother's garage, and outwardly, his mood apparently improved after the murders, fulfilled some need.
To the point he was named Student of the Month.
Incredibly, yes. Shortly after the killings, it shows how effectively he can mask his reality. The contrast is just jarring.
Okay, so the crime scene itself was forensically clean because of his planning. How did the investigation proceed? It sounds like they had nothing to go on initially.
They really didn't. It was a massive investigation. FBI involved, 25 agents. But Marsh's precautions worked. No DNA, no prints, no footprints. He was, like you said, a ghost.
So how did they catch him?
He cut himself. Through bragging. He couldn't resist talking about it.
When did he start talking?
Almost immediately. The same day as the murders, April 14th, he confessed to a close friend. The next day, at lunch, he confessed again, telling friends, telling his girlfriend, apparently smiling as he described the euphoria.
Did they believe him?
His girlfriend apparently dismissed it at first, maybe thought it was just dark, edgy teenage talk, but he gave graphic details. His close friend later testified Marsh called it the best feeling in his life, and even showed him the souvenirs. The knife, clothes, gloves.
Why didn't they go to the police then?
Fear, it seems. The sources indicate they were terrified of Marsh, essentially keeping his secret because they were scared of what he might do.
So what changed? What finally brought him down?
It was fear of future violence. In June, Marsh's girlfriend broke up with him. His reaction was to escalate. He snuck into her house late at night using the dog door.
That's terrifying.
Exactly. That act convinced the ex-girlfriend who was planning something else, maybe planning to kill again. She told the close friend who already knew about the murders. That friend, now truly scared Marsh was in imminent danger, finally went to the police. Apparently, he tried telling Marsh's father first, but was dismissed.
So the friend's fear for someone else's safety broke the dam.
Precisely. Marsh was arrested the next day, June 17th, 2013.
And the interrogation? Did he confess right away?
No, not at all. He tried to manipulate the situation. Initial denial, lots of sobbing, pleading innocence. This went on for over 3.5 hours.
What broke him?
The investigators, Detective Pineda and FBI Agent Campion, confronted him with evidence, recordings of him bragging to his friends. Faced with his own words, his story crumbled. He claimed, "I couldn't take it anymore. I had to do it. I lost control."
But the details he gave contradicted that loss of control narrative.
Completely. He gave a graphic, step-by-step account. The calculated break-in, watching them sleep, remembering feeling nervous but excited and exhilarated. The stabbings, the mutilation, he even demonstrated the motions.
And the agent asked him how he'd kill him.
Yes, Agent Campion did that to gauge his empathy, or lack thereof. Marsh's response was immediate, cold, and detailed. Choking with the agent's tie, using broken glass, smashing his face, ending with nothing personal.
Wow, wow. That confirmed the psychopathy profile for the prosecution.
Solidified it. So he was charged as an adult, age 17, 2 counts of first-degree murder, plus the special circumstances, torture, lying in wait, multiple victims.
And the defense strategy was purely insanity.
Yes, not guilty by reason of insanity. Arguing the medication side effects plus mental illness triggered the violence, that he didn't understand his actions or that they were wrong at the time.
Which is the legal standard in California, right? So
Yeah.
you're not in rule. You have to prove you either didn't know what you were doing or didn't know it was wrong.
Exactly. It's a high bar. Being mentally ill isn't enough. You have to lack that fundamental understanding of reality or morality at the moment of the crime.
And the prosecution just hammered on the planning.
Systematically. The taped shoes, checking 50 houses, the waiting period, the postmortem trolling. They argued this all proved he knew exactly what he was doing, knew it was wrong, and was actively trying to get away with it.
Plus the psychopathy score.
That 35.8 PCLR score presented by Dr. Logan was devastating to the defense. It painted a picture of calculation, not temporary delusion. It made the insanity plea seem, well, implausible to the jury.
How long did the jury take?
Astonishingly quick. After a 5-week trial, less than 2 hours to find him guilty on all counts, including the special circumstances. Then a few days later, in the sanity phase, they found him legally sane when he committed the murders.
So they completely rejected the insanity defense.
Completely. They believed he knew what he was doing and knew it was wrong.
Which led to the sentencing. The prosecution pushed hard for the maximum.
Absolutely. 52 years to life. Prosecutor Michael Cabral's words were strong. "Never have I seen such a heinous and reprehensible act. Never have I seen a defendant with such an evil soul." He argued the case screams out for the match sentence.
And the victim impact statements must have been powerful.
Deeply moving and harrowing. Claudia Maupin's daughter talking about her mother loving people killed for perverse gratification. Chip Northup's son describing the trauma reigniting his ALS symptoms. The ripple effects were immense.
And the judge agreed with the prosecution.
Judge David Reed did. He imposed the maximum sentence possible for a juvenile tried as an adult, 52 years to life. He specifically noted Marsh's pride in the crime and the mutilation done out of curiosity.
But even that sentence wasn't the end of the story because of his age and the changes in California law.
Exactly. His conviction landed smack in the middle of a huge wave of juvenile justice reform in California. This case became Exhibit A in the debate.
Let's break down those legal changes. First was SB 260, right? Passed the same year as the murders.
That's the baseline. SB 260 created what's called the Youth Offender Parole Hearing. The idea is that brains aren't fully developed, even into the early 20s. So people who commit crimes when young deserve a chance to show they've matured and reformed.
So how did that affect Marsh's 52 to life sentence?
It meant that even though he got that long adult sentence, SB 260 guarantees him a parole hearing after serving 25 years. So instead of potentially never getting out, he becomes eligible around age 42 in the year 2036.
Okay, so that was the first major change. Then came Proposition 57 in 2016.
Right. This is a really big shift passed by voters. It tackled how juveniles end up in adult court in the first place.
It took the power away from prosecutors.
Exactly. Before Prop 57, prosecutors could often direct file charges against certain juveniles straight into adult court. Prop 57 ended that. It mandated that a juvenile court judge must hold a hearing and decide if a transfer to adult court is appropriate.
And this applied retroactively.
That was the key ruling by the California Supreme Court in 2018. They said Prop 57 applied to any case not yet final on appeal. Since Marsh's appeal was still going, his adult conviction was essentially put on hold, conditionally reversed pending one of these new transfer hearings.
So he got a second chance to argue he should stay in the juvenile system?
A huge second chance.
Yeah.
Prosecutors in Yolo County immediately filed to transfer him back to adult court, aiming to reinstate the original sentence. But then things got even more complicated.
Because of Senate Bill 1391.
Yes, SB 1391, signed into law by Governor Jerry Brown in September 2018, literally weeks before Marsh's scheduled transfer hearing. This law went even further than Prop 57.
How so?
SB 1391 completely prohibited anyone under 16 from being tried in adult court. Period. No exceptions. It removed all judicial discretion for 14 and 15-year-olds, even for the most serious crimes like murder with special circumstances.
That must have caused a massive backlash.
Oh, huge. Prosecutors, law enforcement, victims' rights group, they fought it intensely. Yolo County DA Jeff Reisig was very vocal, urging a veto.
What was their main argument against it?
They used Marsh's case as the prime example. They argued a blanket ban was dangerous because it ignored the reality of exceptionally sophisticated and depraved young offenders like Marsh. They said judges needed discretion for these rare, extreme cases. Eliminating that authority felt reckless to them.
But Governor Brown signed it anyway. Why?
His reasoning focused on the core principles of juvenile justice, rehabilitation, and redemption. He emphasized that young people have a greater capacity for change and should be handled within the juvenile system, which is designed for reform, not just punishment.
What about public safety? Didn't opponents argue this would release dangerous people too early?
Brown addressed that. He pointed out existing laws, Welfare and Institutions Code, sections 1800 and 1800.5, which allow the state to petition to keep someone confined beyond their juvenile sentence if they're still deemed dangerous. It's a form of civil commitment. So the argument was the safety net exists just later in the process.
So Marsh's transfer hearing was about to happen. SB 1391 was signed but not yet effective. What happened at the hearing?
It went forward in October 2018. Marsh's lawyers wanted to delay it until SB 1391 took effect in January 2019, arguing it should apply to him. But Judge Samuel McAdam denied the continuance and proceeded.
Marsh testified.
Yes, he took the stand, arguing he was reformed and belonged in the juvenile system. Prosecutors countered hard, bringing back Dr. Logan, emphasizing the PCLR score, the planning, the brutality, all the factors pointing to adult sophistication.
So the judge had to weigh the new law's philosophy against the specific brutal facts of this case.
Exactly, a really tough position. On October 24, 2018, Judge McAdam made his ruling. He sided with the prosecution. Marsh was transferred back to adult court to continue serving the 52 years to life sentence.
What was his reasoning?
He focused on 5 factors required by Prop 57. The gravity of the offense, the criminal sophistication, Marsh's history, his potential for rehabilitation within the juvenile system's time frame, and public safety. McAdam found the crime itself was just too extreme.
He used some strong language, didn't he?
Very strong. He called it a highly sophisticated, extraordinary, and rare crime, even for the most hardened and seasoned adult criminal. He acknowledged Marsh's mental illness, but framed him as a psychopath whose main goal was to become a serial killer.
And he questioned if rehabilitation was even possible.
He questioned if it was possible within the juvenile system, which typically ends jurisdiction at age 25. He essentially ruled that Marsh's level of psychopathy and dangerousness was beyond what the juvenile system was equipped to handle.
But the fight wasn't over because of SB 1391.
Right. Marsh appealed Judge McAdams' decision. The core legal argument became, since his original conviction was conditionally reversed under Prop 57, was his case still open when SB 1391 took effect? If yes, shouldn't the new law prohibiting adult prosecution for 15-year-olds apply retroactively?
And if he had won that appeal,
The implications were massive. If SB 1391 applied retroactively, he would have been mandated back to the juvenile system. And since he was already well past the age of 25, he likely would have been released from custody almost immediately.
that's a huge difference, 52 to life versus immediate release.
Exactly. Prosecutors and the Attorney General fought hard against this interpretation, arguing the judgment became final with McAdams' ruling, or that SB 1391 simply shouldn't apply retroactively to someone posing such an extreme danger.
There was a related Supreme Court case, OG Ventura County.
Yes, that case upheld the constitutionality of SB 1391 itself, saying the legislature could amend Prop 57 like that. But it didn't directly decide Marsh's specific retroactivity claim.
So what was the final outcome for Marsh's appeal?
His appeal ultimately failed. The Third District Court dismissed it in September 2021. They essentially upheld Judge McAdams' transfer order. The specific facts of Marsh's crime, his perceived sophistication and danger, ultimately outweighed the push for retroactive application of the broader reform law in his particular case.
So the adult sentence stood.
Yes, the tension between the reform policy and the extreme facts of this case resolved, at least for now, in favor of keeping him under the adult sentence.
Okay, wrapping this up. It's been a really deep dive into this collision. Calculated psychopathy, serious mental illness, and these sweeping changes in California law aimed at reforming juvenile justice.
And the facts of this specific crime,
Huh.
the planning, the cruelty, the lack of remorse, Marsh expressed constantly challenged those reforms, challenged the idea of automatic redemption based on age.
And there was that YouTube video incident too, right? While he was incarcerated.
Yes, that was quite disturbing, especially for the families. In May 2018, while his transfer hearing was pending, Marsh uploaded a video called Embracing Our Humanity.
What did he say in it?
He presented himself as reformed,
Yeah.
argued he deserved a second chance. He used very articulate language, saying things like, "There are no such things as evil people, only damaged people."
How did the victims' families react?
They saw it as manipulation, not genuine remorse, but another calculated performance designed to influence the judge and the public. Just more evidence of his cunning, in their view. The video caused an uproar and was taken down quickly.
So where is Daniel Marsh now?
He remains incarcerated at Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, serving that 52 years to life sentence.
But eligible for parole eventually.
Yes, because of SB 260, the Youth Offender Parole Law. His first eligibility date is December 2036. He'll be 49 years old.
So release isn't impossible. It's a question the parole board will face.
Absolutely. And it sets up an incredibly difficult decision for them. About 13 years from now, you have someone diagnosed with severe psychopathy at a young age who committed an extraordinarily brutal and premeditated crime, showing little remorse at the time.
How do they balance the mandate to consider his youth and potential for rehabilitation against the sheer horror of the crime and the clinical assessment of psychopathy?
That's the crux of it. The law demands they consider rehabilitation potential because he was a minor. But the evidence from the crime and the psychological assessments points towards enduring traits, towards significant risk. How do you weigh legislative hope against clinical reality and public safety?
It's an intense legal and moral tightrope. The system wants to believe in reform for young people, but a case like this, with that 35.8 PCLR score, it makes that belief incredibly hard.
It really does. Which leads us to that final provocative thought for you, the listener. Judge McAdams noted that statistically, most psychopaths are not criminals. Marsh, however, scored incredibly high and acted criminally in the most extreme way.
So the question is, 13 years from now, when that parole board convenes, what should they prioritize?
Should it be his behavior then? Should it be the scientific prognosis about psychopathy, which many experts consider very difficult, if not impossible, to cure? Or should it be the legal requirement to give significant weight to the fact he committed the crime as a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
How do you assess if someone deemed so dangerous and sophisticated at 15 is truly safe decades later?
A lot to think about there, a really challenging intersection of psychology, law, and the hope for change versus the need for accountability.
Indeed. It encapsulates so many difficult questions about justice.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today.